we praise and we thank you, oh God, for building up our church and allowing the pastor to you to ask me to come before and be used by you, oh God. Lord, I praise and I thank you for holy boldness, oh God. I thank you and I praise and I thank you, oh God, for allowing me to be the vessel that you are using this morning, oh God. And may I listen with direction, oh God, that I may encourage, uplift, and strengthen and educate the body of Christ, oh God. Lord, I praise and I thank you. Less of me and more of you, oh God. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen. Amen. And we're just going to continue from last week, picking up where we left off in session 3, planting the seeds. And just a quick recap. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. And as prophetess, evangelist, Trina went over last week, things that can be detrimental or hinder us in a natural manner with the way we eat, the things that we partake in. I'm just going to come back with a little twist when we're planting the seed. On a spiritual realm, we can be anorexic in the spirit. We can be overly indulging in the spirit, not in a godly way, but in an ungodly way. We can overeat in the spirit and not in a godly way because we are gluttoning all the things that are not pertaining to God. We are saturating our bodies with things that are not pleasing to God, that is hindering us from our spiritual growth. And just like anything that we're partaking in the natural, anything that we consume abundant is not always good. It can hinder our natural growth. It slows us down. And especially with diabetes, I know that's one of the things that are very heavily among the United States. And about maybe 3 or 5 years ago, I was with an educator in the medical field. And a lot of the students come to the United States, wasn't aware of that, to learn how to deal with a lot of the diseases because they don't have them in their home country. As they would say, these are man-made diseases that have overpowered our population. And they don't have the opportunity to treat and diagnose that type of stuff where they are because they don't have diabetics over there. They don't have people that are dealing with high blood pressure over there because of the type of food that they are partaking, and the things that we are partaking has a lot of hormones and stuff in it. So we're overly processing our bodies with hormones because we're trying to create an environment of food that grows quicker so that we can continue to house the stores, house our houses, and things of that nature. Then we're taking part of things that are not naturally grown. So if you like chicken, a lot of people want the big piece. If you've ever been to a farm and see naturally grown chickens, their legs are not that big, their thighs are not that big, their wings are not that big. So when you see things like that, they're adding these adjectives and these hormones into it, and then we're partaking in it. And so that has now become attached to us. Just like in the spiritual realm, we partake in things and allow ourselves to be connected to things that has partaken to our spiritual man, that is hindering our spiritual growth. And we overly do it sometimes, and it slows us down where we need to be spiritually. That's why we're not always in tune and we're not on the right path. My husband went fishing yesterday, and it was so crazy because I was supposed to go, but I was at home with my uncle. And he went, and he didn't even take a casting net. He didn't take anything to bring home the fish. So he wasn't prepared to receive the blessing that he got yesterday. And it's so ironic that that's how we operate. We're not prepared to receive the blessing that God is trying to give us because we are overly indulging in unhealthy practices. So planting the seed. You've probably been asked the question, what one food you just can't live without? Have anybody thought about that one food they just can't live without? Chicken. That's a good one. That's a good one. And a lot of people like a good piece of chicken. And some people like chocolate, pizza, steak, pasta, ice cream. Eating is essential to human life. Yet, our eating habits may have little to do with the necessary of taking part in the food. This is because social cues and relationship increases our diet and being tired of and lifestyle, including how easily and quickly we can buy food from fast food restaurants. How many of us like fast food? Or why do you prefer fast food over home cooked meals? Convenience. So more options and convenience. We can buy food from fast food restaurants or the supermarket. As a result, we find ourselves eating unconsciously rather than eating to live, which is a very true statement. We try these different diets because we have found ourselves in a situation where we know we need a change. And so me, myself, I feel I'm overweight. And it does not come from overeating. So that's not the only way you can gain weight. Improperly eating, not eating what is necessary to survive. I'm a junk food eater, so I would rather eat candies and cupcakes and chips versus a meal. And sometimes that is exactly what I eat. And I can go to sleep and ate a bag of chips and some candies and cupcakes, and I'm okay with that. And so they came out with the calorie, check your calories. So they were like, okay, you can eat anything you want as long as it's within the calories. So guess what I was eating? My chips and cupcakes, as long as I stayed under my calorie count. And I lost weight. I lost weight. But it still created other health issues. Yeah. Because what I'm intaking is not what I need to survive. And that is so much what we need spiritually. What we intake, what we impart, and what we surround ourselves is not what we need spiritually to survive. We do things that we think are not harmful or not going to cause us to gain the weight, but it triggers our body to start storing our fatty cells up every time we partake and eat. So then our metabolism is not moving the way that it should be because we have triggered things in our body from partaking in unhealthy eating. So, nurturing the seed, that is something that I started when I was younger. I've always been a junk food eater, and when you're 9 and 10 and 12, it's no issue because you're running all that stuff off, and over a period of time, that unhealthy practice that you planted when you were young becomes an unhealthy adult practice, and the weight is not as easy to get off because you're not running around. And a lot of things that we take for granted, just little things like, I don't like to exercise. It is necessary. So I'm going through physical therapy to try to get balance back in my body because my right side is weaker than my left side. Comes from, I say, because I'm fat, but they tell me no, it's just you're not properly using those muscles in your body, so your right side is weaker than your left side, and we have to rebuild those muscles and regain those tissues so that you don't have that imbalancement anymore and you don't have those aches that exist now because you didn't properly use your body and utilize the food that they have given us because you're overly indulging in sugar, in starch, in carbs. I'm overly indulgent in that. And so when I thought that I was doing the calorie thing, that worked. But it also gave me an imbalance because now I have more of this and less of that. And so it stored it somewhere and then it triggered something else in my body that caused me to be off. So a lot of times we have to just be a little bit more dedicated and more sincere and intentional on what we're doing, even with eating. It's not necessary for me to have junk food. I can live a healthy life without any sweets. It's possible. It's a struggle, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. So I have started on more green products. And I bought sandwich, the storage bags. So they say that if you prep, it's easier, it's more convenient. You already have your food prepped for the week. You can just go in there and you can cook that portion that's already been set aside for you to eat so that you can have a healthier lifestyle. Now I have all the tools to be successful, but I haven't did the work.
Come on and say it.
And so that just brings us back that we have the Bible, we have the preacher, we have the teachers, we have the choir, we have the educators, and they're giving us everything we need, and we have it. But when we don't utilize it, it doesn't profit us nothing. So a lot of times we have the people that are planting the seeds. We're just too lazy to water. We're too lazy to do the work. We're too lazy to actually see the change. And it's because we're so complacent in being okay with where we are. I said I'm overweight, but I still look good. Lord help me. I know I ain't the only one. So we find ourselves saying, oh, well, it don't look too bad, and, we'll be all right, we'll lose it. It ain't sloppy. When it get there, then I'll be worried. But it don't happen overnight. It happens gradually over time, and then it catches up. And then we'll be like, oh, this is how I got on my 500-pound life. It didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually. And we justified it as it was happening, so it continued to grow. And that's what we have to quit doing. We have to quit justifying our bad habits. We'll say we know it's bad, and we still justify doing it. Oh, I'm out and about, it's easier, it's convenient. Multiple choices, everybody get to pick what they want. But how many know McDonald's make you ugly? Makes you ugly. And mentally, people are like, oh, well, you know, pretty, but have we looked at some of the things that are going on with our body? It's making us ugly. And if you have ever eaten McDonald's, their fries can be in your car for years and not mold.
That's real.
Just saying, how long is it sitting in our bodies? Is it really digesting like it's supposed to be? What we are ingesting, creating different things in our bodies that are sitting dormant until something happens. We just have to make the choice and stand on the choice and move forward in those decisions. Nurturing the seed through God, except Christian believers to be disciplined eaters. He has provided diverse food and strategy, abundance, and told us to order anything on the menu. Genesis 9:3. However, we need to manage what we have provided, what he has provided. God has also said that being gluttonous, greedy, and obese, obsessive, and consuming with all have one of everything attitude is shameful. Can't be the only one. Ever went to a restaurant? Never been there and was like, I'll just try everything. Just try it all.
Yeah.
Not really needing it all, but
Yeah.
just know that I want to know what's good and what's not good. No, because then I'm a person that I'm not going to waste, so this cost, we're going to have to eat it.
Yeah.
So,
Greed.
yeah, overly indulging.
Yeah.
And that's not what food was created to do. It was just created to nurture us. And I did learn that the growling in our stomach that we think means we're hungry is only our stomach processing food that hasn't been correctly processed. So you're not hungry. And they have tricked us into believing that we should eat every time we hear that sound because it means that we're hungry. And we're not. We're not hungry. We should drink more water. Get our water intake higher than our food intake so that when we do eat, it is processed quickly and that it doesn't start attaching itself to the cells in our body that will create different components that it tries to fight against the different infections, different yeast that we take part of attaches and aggravates the cancer cells that are already in our body. So a lot of things that we are already born with will start being attacked, which will create new things that our body tries to fight against, and then it will create these diseases that we now see, such as diabetes, high blood pressure, things of that nature that can be controlled. That is within our control. As I used to tell my kids, if you can't read because there's no lights, that's my problem. If you can't read because you're too lazy to pick up a book, that's a you problem. So we have to determine what is something that we can control and what's out of our control. And food is very important because that is something that we can control. We don't have to go to the grocery store and get a basket full of food. I grew up in a household of 7 children, 2 adults. I never ever went to the store and got a basket of food ever. I don't remember one time that we go to the grocery store and she just started filling up the cart with food. And there was a meal every day. We didn't miss nothing. I mean, we just have created a lifestyle where crab legs and shrimps and steaks and potatoes is something that we want to indulge in, not something that we have to survive. And so, knowing what you need to survive and knowing what you want is 2 different things and 2 different qualification classes. And that is what is creating obesity and anorexia. People who believe that they're fat even when they're not is because subconsciously we have made being as what's winning and being a little thick as what's out. And it's all right to have some meat on your body if it's healthy. You always want healthy weight is a great weight. Being overweight is not a thing that's going to be prosperous and getting of age. It's going to slow you down. Your knees are going to buckle. You're going to have that gout. Author is going to come visit you frequently. And you don't have to even be old and have that situation. If you're overweight, it comes quicker. You start having these aches and pains, and being overweight or eating incorrectly gives you headaches, which then turns into migraines, and you get all these MRIs, take all these tests, and it's the food that you're eating that is creating the problem. And so, even with that, you just have to be mindful of some of the changes and things that you would like to do. God has provided a healthy diet for us. Noah and his family and the descendants could eat a balanced diet for everything, including many grains. Just thinking about when I read that Noah and his family was in an ark. I don't think they had icebox back then, refrigerators back then. I can't see them storing up all that meat. How do you think they survived? Like if you had to take out meat in your diet or take out something that you know you eat daily or weekly, what would that one thing be that you feel like you could do without? Anybody?
That's a reference to me.
Anything that you feel like you could do without?
For me, has to be sugar.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Anyone else?
For me, it would be meat, because growing up, they used to tell me I was not a big meat eater, so I could do without meat. I like vegetables and stuff like that, but I can take out meat.
Pop, yeah, that's definitely a good one, good calorie killer. And it's in abundance. It's something that sweets. I mean, if they just make them beans a little more tastier, I could try to do something maybe. Sorry. So growing up, we had the rule is what I fix is what you eat, and if you don't eat it, you don't get nothing to eat. So I used to think that my mama, well, I know that my mama has a love for beans. I never ate them. And she swears, I never do that. Half. You make them all the time. No, I never ate them. I didn't. Right, so she always made cornbread and beans. I ate cornbread. We probably started a trend with the cornbread and milk. No, yeah. That's what I ate. Everybody else would have a full plate. I'm like, can I have your cornbread? Can I have your cornbread because I'm hungry? My brother never ate chicken. Of course, they fried chicken. I mean, it didn't stop them because that's what they wanted. It still doesn't eat chicken to the day, and they still cook it. So, I think that's where my junk food came from, because stuff that she probably should have said, no, you're going to eat this. It's just like, hey, you don't eat it, it's on you, but this is what's here to eat. You just won't eat it. And so, chips, candies, and stuff like that became my friend, because she made liver and gizzards and stuff that lamb, and I don't eat that stuff. And I couldn't get it in my mouth, Lord. I was trying, but it just didn't work out. So I adapted. I'm not cooking that stuff, but I'm only cooking stuff I like. And of course, my daughter's gonna like it. She's gonna hate me, but she's overweight, and she was healthy at a young age, whereas I was not. And so I had those options, and she did not. She was strictly say, hey, you don't want it? Okay, let's try this. And we take a part of those, we take on that role as trying to do something better for our kids, as if what our parents gave us was not better. We just didn't see it. And that's the same thing as what God has already gave Noah. Them in the day got them through. Even in a pandemic, there wasn't nobody in the world but them. In the boat while it rained, and they made do. They didn't have doctors. They didn't have lawyers. They didn't have none of that stuff, and they made it through. And now we need all these physicians to tell us it's the food that we're eating, but they're not gonna tell us it's what we're eating, because the money's not in the cure, the money's in the medicine. So always remember that when you go somewhere they want to give you medicine, the money's not in the cure, it's in the medicine. So you always want to try to go to God and ask Him, what is it that I need to take out of my life that is going to create a healthier environment for my body, so that it can be fueled on things that I need, and get the unhealthy things out of my body. Because they can tell you anything, but God has the final say. So don't be stupid and not listen to what they're telling you, but then go to God and evaluate, hey, is this something that we can do? Let's research it. Don't just let them have the final say, because they can make mistakes. From the seed, are you aware of whether or not you're eating the correct nourishments? Consider using a food pyramid with as mypyramid.gov. It shows how eating real whole food adds up to a healthy diet. Due to faulty diets, people of any weight can be improperly nourished. Most of us have not tasted a real milkshake in years. Did you guys know that?
Tasted what?
A real milkshake.
But this stuff is right, what they do.
It is for everything.
It is.
It's
The
not
ice cream is really what it is. we like in the village, they teach you what to eat, what not to eat. Our culture, with fast food, sugar craze, because it's in us. Because we was raised up like that. But the healing is in the meat, in the food. Like, nobody want to eat no kale and beans are good, like you say, but then nobody want to do that. We want to eat hamburger and hot dog, which is bad.
Yeah. Not necessarily bad, but where we shop is bad. When I moved back to Wanda, I was able to start going back to the slaughterhouse, is what we called it back in the day. And my daughter was like, Mama, this hamburger meat tastes funny. I'm like, it doesn't taste funny. She's like, yes, it do. Oh, it doesn't have all the fat and the pollution that they sell in the stores. It's not cut like they cut the food in the stores. So now when she tastes someone who is cooking from food that they bought from the store, she says, oh, that is nasty. It's so greasy. And if you do a study yourself, you can buy food from the slaughterhouse. Hamburger meat. That's one. They have you can make hamburger. The hamburger you get from an authentic slaughterhouse is not going to have that grease that a regular hamburger from a store is going to make.
Is that because it's chemicals in that stuff?
That's because they put that fatty acid to stretch the meat.
Even if you go to the grocery store, they say the percentage more fat. I used to try to get to 80%. It costs me, but it doesn't have a reduced amount of fat in it.
And it does. And what they actually say is not always true. Because their ground chuck that they sell in the store is actually ground beef. But because it's coming from the slaughterhouse, they cut it with all the fatty acids and they can sell it as ground chuck. But it's actually what you buy at the slaughterhouse is ground beef. So just, I had to prove my daughter that what I was telling her was real, so we actually did that study. Go ahead.
I just want to say that, like Kevin was saying, a lot of healthy stuff God made, the plants and the leaves. I just spent $50 on a bottle of turmeric and ginger combined. And if you research a lot of other countries where their people eat turmeric and stuff like that all the time, they're way more healthier than we are. Because like you said, we put all kind of stuff in our body, eat everything, and all these other countries that eat the turmeric and ginger, they don't have the high blood pressure, the diabetes and all that. And here, I'm waiting till I'm almost 66 in a few months to research this stuff I should have been eating. And I wouldn't have type 2 diabetes. Like I said, a lot of times we eat stuff, we know what to do to get healthier. A lot of times we just don't do it. So now I'm researching stuff that's going to try to help my body because it's about broke down now. And if we eat the stuff a lot of these foreign countries eat, that came from Mother Nature, that came from God, we'd be a lot healthier.
So once we start doing that detox, it is imperative that we don't put that stuff back into our body that has created. So once it gets flushed, but you're absolutely right. They are a lot better off because they don't allow that stuff to even be sold in the other states. The stuff that we have in the United States, 35% of the stuff that we allow our American people to eat is banned in other countries. The McDonald's in France does not sell the same product, ingredients rather, as the one in the United States. So the ingredients are different in other countries. They still have McDonald's, but
Yeah,
the ingredients are different.
it tastes back different.
Mom, okay.
Yes.
It's our choice. eggplants, and I used to didn't like eggplants, but I found out eggplant was a substitute for meat, and I love eggplants now. And then it's our choice to find out what we need in our body. But when we go to the doctor just slap anything in them. And sometimes people go to the doctor so much, the doctor gives them sugar pills. He gives them sugar pills. I mean, that's a fact, and I know that. Because they're complaining, and then this one's doing no good. When you go back to the doctor just slap some sugar pills on them.
Sugar's not in the medicine.
Just listening to all of this is really encouraging. A lot of what we are challenged with, as far as myself, is just the discipline. The discipline of going back to the kitchen and cooking and preparing those meals. And also, we've become a convenience society where we depend on our apps. I'm guilty because if I gain rewards because I've been frequent in a place, you get free stuff, so they know how to get you to come back. And so, they hook you with the birthday rewards. Oh, you get a free pancake at Snooze. They know I'm not going to just come get a pancake. They know I'm going to come and get a whole shrimp and grits. And so, those kind of things have enticed us to come into restaurants that sometimes don't have our best interests at heart. As far as our community, when we look at our community, we see the type of restaurants that are around here. We don't have the juice restaurants, the 100% fresh juice. We don't have the Whole Food stores in our area. We got to drive north or south to get to Sprouts or Whole Foods. They don't even put those things. We're not privy to that in our neighborhood. And even when we do have the farmers markets, we don't support like we should, so they move to other areas. And so we even had a free truck going around giving away stuff, and people just weren't showing up to come get it, and so they moved to different communities. And so, we are our own worst enemy within our community. And I love in the Sunday school book later on, it talks about we need to learn how to cook again. And so I'm like, ooh, ouch.
That is so true, Evangelist. And I had the privilege to be connected to a lot of people that have blessed me when it comes to this food. The pandemic has caused the price of eggs to increase. I went to Sam's Clubs and case of 5 dozen was like $17. So I go and get my horseshoe, and I'm telling the guy, oh man, I need some of the eggs. And he was like, well, we'll sell them to you for, dirt cheap. I'm thinking oh, okay, how many can I get? Because the price of eggs in the stores, and of course they don't know because they do all their own products. So I have started putting my money into their community because that grape jelly, preservative. He gave me 5 dozen of brown eggs for the free alone. Is the mic on? You hear me? I said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for the free. F-R-E-E.
What was this at?
It was a blessing.
Where was it
It was a blessing. When he say he gonna give you blessings, you're not even gonna have room enough to receive. I'm locked in. I'm locked in, and I am so even thankful because I tried. They have their own market, and my first question was when Corona hit, were you guys affected? And he was like, the people who work at the store. Guess the people who work at the store service the outside community.
2 minutes left, teacher.
So their community in a whole was not affected. That just gets you to thinking that some of the things, the principles that we grew up on, going to the farmers market. We used to have one on Leavenworth Road. We used to have one on Swartz. You know, people used to have their own gardens in the backyard. We have to start going back to some of that stuff
That is right.
because the stuff that they're giving us
That's right.
chemically are imbalancing us, mentally are causing these issues, and we have to just be more aware when God's saying it. I am giving you, not man is giving you, but I have already supplied you with everything you need. And we have depended so much on convenience that we are allowing somebody else to profit $1 from us that is now inflicting issues in our body. So what we think when we go to these Whole Food stores or food is higher, pay the higher price because you're buying prescriptions.
Kizzy's leaving. I just want to say, even with the Asian community, most of them, as they eat or after they eat, they flush their system with hot liquids because they want to make sure their arteries are not clogged. And they don't, most of them don't struggle with hypertension and high blood pressure and everything, but that's a choice. We have to make healthy cultural diet choices.
Is that why they drink tea all the time? Hot tea?
So we just need to get back to the basics of the things that God has already given us to do.
Man,